Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Chhatrapati Shahuji Maharaj University, I, Dr. Rashi Agarwal, and Dr. Sandesh Gupta, members of the technical committee of this Webposium, welcome you all to the first ever Indo-Egyptian Webposium on COVID reality, cost of human lives and economy of the world. We are extremely delighted to have such an illustrious panel of speakers amongst us and are thrilled to welcome our chief guest of the Webposium, Dr. Dinesh Sharma ji, the Honorable Deputy Chief Minister and Minister of Higher Education, Government of Uttar Pradesh. We welcome our patron, Professor Nilima Gupta ji, who is the Honorable Vice Chancellor of this university. The guest of honor, Professor G.C. Tripathi ji, the Chairman of Higher Education, Government of Uttar Pradesh. The illustrious speakers in today's Webposium include Professor N.C. Gautam, Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi Chitrakoot Gramoddaya Vishwavidyalaya Chitrakoot, Professor S.I. Shalaby, Vice President of Academy of Scientific Research and Technology, Cairo, Egypt, Professor Maha Saber, National Research Center, Cairo, Egypt, Professor Sandeep K. Malhotra from University of Allahabad, and Professor Mahmood Bagot from NRC, Cairo. Each session would be of 10 minutes each. Please feel free to ask your queries during the sessions using messaging. The honorable speakers will take some of the questions after their session. Otherwise, we will answer all the other queries using the university handle. The sessions will be convened by Dr. Varsha Gupta, who is the organizer of this Webposium. I hope you all have a very fruitful Webposium, and I welcome you once again on behalf of the university. I now welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor Madam, Professor Nilima Gupta ji, to give the inaugural session. Thank you.
नमस्कार, मैं आप सभी का छत्रपति शाहूजी महाराज विश्वविद्यालय द्वारा आयोजित इंडो इजिप्शियन वेबपोजियम ऑन कोविड रियलिटी, कॉस्ट ऑफ ह्यूमन लाइव्स एंड इकोनॉमी ऑफ द वर्ल्ड में आपका स्वागत करती हूँ। हम लोग कुछ समय से सोच रहे थे कि कोविड-19 की जब हम बात कर रहे हैं तो हमारी हेल्थ पर अवश्य पूरी दुनिया देख रही है कि क्या असर पड़ रहा है। इसी के साथ जो हम सभी को चिंता होने लगी है वो है कि भविष्य में हमारी इकोनॉमी पर क्या होगा। इन्हीं दो बिंदुओं को लेते हुए हमारे विश्वविद्यालय ने ये एक वेबिनार आयोजित किया है और मुझे बहुत खुशी है कि इस वेबिनार में बहुत हमारे साथ हमारे मुख्य अतिथि के रूप में डॉक्टर दिनेश शर्मा जी हैं, जो हमारे माननीय उप मुख्यमंत्री होने के साथ साथ उच्च शिक्षा के भी मंत्री हैं उत्तर प्रदेश शासन के, और अपने इतने व्यस्ततम उन्होंने दिनचर्या में से समय निकाला है। इसके लिए मैं सर आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत करती हूँ, आपका आभार प्रकट करती हूँ कि आपने इस वेबिनार में अपने आशीर्वचन देने के लिए हमें सहमति प्रदान की। इसी के साथ मैं स्वागत करती हूँ प्रोफेसर जी.सी. त्रिपाठी का, जो चेयरमैन है हायर एजुकेशन काउंसिल के उत्तर प्रदेश के, और उन्होंने भी वो इकोनॉमी में एक मानी हुई एक हस्ती माने जाते हैं और पूरी दुनिया में उनके जितने शोध पत्र हैं और उनका शोध है वो इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट के लिए उनके बहुत योगदान रहे हैं। मुझे बहुत खुशी है कि इस वेबिनार में हमें उनका मार्गदर्शन भी हमें मिल सकेगा। इसी के साथ मैं बहुत आभारी हूँ प्रोफेसर N.C. गौतम, जो कुलपति हैं चित्रकूट महात्मा गांधी चित्रकूट विश्वविद्यालय के चित्रकूट से, और वो एक नेचुरलिस्ट हैं। उन्होंने काफ़ी कम्युनिटी डेवलपमेंट पे भी काम किया है और मेरे आमंत्रण पर उन्होंने स्वीकृति दी है। मैं उनका बहुत बहुत आभार प्रकट करती हूँ। इन एडिशन टू ऑल दीज डिग्नेटरीज हु आर हियर on behalf of this webinar and to give their blessings, I also welcome our Egyptian colleagues who are here with us. I am also very happy to share that we have been having Egyptian collaboration with these Egyptian scientists for more than the past 3 decades. And when this COVID-19 came, we started sharing some of the views, and we decided we've been having certain publications also earlier, certain research projects also. And when COVID-19 came, we thought of why not have an Indo-Egyptian collaborative webinar. I'm very happy to Professor S.I. Shalaby, who is the Vice President of the Academy of Scientific Research and Technology from Cairo, Egypt. He'll be talking on remdesivir how to become safe. This is a drug which is now becoming very popular for the cure of COVID-19. I am sure that Professor Shalaby, with his deliberation, will enlighten us about the use of this drug for the ulterior benefit of humankind. We also have Professor Dr. Maha Saber, who is from the National Research Center, Cairo, Egypt, and he shall be talking on medical nutrition therapy for patients with COVID-19. So this is again a very important aspect, because we know that nutrition plays a very important role in all diseases, and COVID-19, we know that it is a very difficult type of disease which we are not being able to handle. So Dr. Maha Saber, I welcome you to this webposium, because you will be talking on one of the very interesting topics on medical nutritional therapy, and we do hope that with your deliberation we will be able to gain some benefit into how to get rid of this disease. I also welcome Professor Sandeep Malhotra, former head of the Department of Zoology, Allahabad University, Allahabad. He is a well-known zoologist, he is a well-known microbiologist, he is a well-known environmentalist, and when I approached him for his expert views in this webposium, I am so very happy that he gave his kind consent. I welcome you, Professor Malhotra, to this webposium. He'll be talking on 2019 and COVE, environmental aspects of the disease, and since the environment also plays a very important role as to how this disease spreads, and on the other hand how we can take care of this disease with the help of certain environmental strategies, I hope that Professor Malhotra will be telling us something on these lines. And our last speaker is Professor Dr. Mehmood Bhagat. He is from the National Research Center from Cairo, Egypt. He'll be talking on COVID-19 outbreak and overview and needs to develop global control alliances. And I think that this is also a wonderful topic, because right now we are not talking about any particular city or state or country, because since this is a global pandemic, I'm sure that his deliberation will enlighten us something on how we can deal with this disease from the global point of view. So here we have such a good number of speakers here, and I welcome all of you again on behalf of the university, and I am so very happy to see the number of participants, and I see the figures of our number of registrations, the keen interest with our readers who are associated with the university. I see that more than 2,000 registrations from India and Egypt. They are all present here to attend this webinar. I welcome all our viewers also who are here to share the proceedings of this webposium. When we talk about health and COVID, I would say there are two aspects. One aspect is that when we are talking about health, it is the disease itself and what hazards it is causing. We know how pathogenic it is, and in different parts of the world it is being pathogenic, but I would say that the degree of pathogenicity in different countries is also varied. And I also feel that it is how you are able to cope up with this disease. आप कैसे उसका deal कर रहे हैं उसके साथ. How efficiently and intelligently you are tackling this disease. It is by this means that you are able to, the infectivity in that particular country varies. But on the other hand, I would also like to say that there are more susceptible people. For example, the elderly people, or those who are affected with certain diseases like diabetes, blood pressure. So they become more prone to these diseases. So we have to take care of these aspects also. We have had a webinar earlier also when we stressed on these issues. We had some speakers from other countries also, and that was also very well taken. But when we talk about health, I would say that we have also to look into different aspects like Ayurveda, for which India is known, also to yoga, which is known to reduce the susceptibility to this disease and to increase the immunity, and even exercise. So I am sure that we shall take into consideration all these things so that we are able to cope up with this disease in a better manner. With regard to Chhatrapati Shahuji Maharaj University, we've been able to take care of this problem. We are trying our best to cope up with this disease, and the measures which the university has taken, we have taken up medical counseling. We have a dedicated team who is taking care of all the medical or health issues which are arising, and we are addressing them. We are also conducting online yoga classes, and these have been very well appreciated, and even we have participants from other universities and other cities who are taking keen interest in our yoga classes. Our NSS unit is also very actively engaged in taking care of this disease, and we have also offered our international guest house of 50 beds in which is acting as a passive quarantine for the doctors who are attending to these patients. And also we have tried to make some financial contribution to the tune of about 60 lakhs, which we have already donated to the CM fund and to the PM fund, and the others are also in the pipeline. So this is something about the disease, but we cannot end our talk or our thoughts on the disease itself, because today we are worried about tomorrow. That is, how are we going to deal with the economic losses which are going to take place. So I was very much impressed with two of the deliberations which I heard recently. One was of the Honorable Prime Minister, and he stressed on how we have to cope up with the economy, and he is also taking measures to deal with this problem for our country. And also recently I heard to the deliberation of our Union Minister Nitin Gadkari ji, and he was also very much concerned about the economy of tomorrow. So when we are talking about the economy of tomorrow, we have to deal with certain things, and those certain things are that we have to take certain measures so that we do not become, I do hope that the universities today, they are under stress, that what happens if tomorrow we are suffering from financial loss, or what will happen if we do not get sufficient funds to run our university. So in this context, I would appreciate the Union Minister's proposal that we have a tie-up with the industries and with the government, and we can offer our students, and these students, they can act as trainees, and these trainees, suppose the government offers them even 10,000 rupees, this would be a handsome amount for our trainees, and through which they could get some financial benefit. But on the other hand, the government and the industries would also benefit, because on one hand they would be paying 40,000, say for example, for the particular job to be get done, but here they are paying only 10,000 rupees. So we'll have to look into these lines, how to save our economy. And finally, I would also like to say that the universities, they should not think, because there are two aspects I feel, that universities, either they are being taken as business centers, or they are being taken as simply charitable institutions, where there is a very low fee structure which is present, and all students, they are paying the same fees. So we have to think into these lines. I am sure the speakers who are present here, they will dwell on this problem, and we shall think about some viable solutions as to how we can get rid of this disease, number one, and number two, how we can save the economy of our country. I am sure that we are going to have some wonderful talks, and our viewers who are present here, I'm sure you also have some very interesting questions which our speakers would definitely like to answer. So once again, I welcome you all to this Webposium. आप सभी का मैं स्वागत करती हूँ, आप सभी का मैं धन्यवाद देती हूँ कि आज आपने इस Webposium में आकर हम लोग का साथ दिया. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. जय हिंद.
Thank you so much for your nice talk. We have our key scientific speaker, Professor Syed Ibrahim Shalaby. He is Vice President, Academy of Scientific Research and Technology, Cairo, Egypt. He graduated from the Faculty of Medicine in Cairo and obtained master's and doctorate degrees in tropical medicine and gastroenterology. He got 12 scientific awards, 4 from Egypt and 7 from India. In addition to a European Inventors Award from Romania, his most important accomplishments are 3 US patents. Dr. Shalaby has also been selected as a consultant for foodborne illness at WHO and FAO since 2012. He has nearly 135 published research papers and supervised 18 masters and 13 doctoral theses. He transformed the Journal of the National Research Center into an international journal issued by Springer and is presently its president. He worked as Deputy President of the Academy of Scientific Research and Technology. He currently works as a full-time professor of internal medicine in the National Research Center. I request him to tell about the therapeutic aspects of COVID-19. Professor Syed Ibrahim Shalaby.
In the beginning of this month, I mean about the start of May 2020, the National Institute of Health in US had declared a new drug for COVID-19. This drug is Remdesivir. Remdesivir was chosen among many studied drugs as the miracle or the something very important for treatment of this pandemic of COVID virus. Remdesivir, if we know about its structure or description of this drug, this is a broad spectrum antiviral developed by a company called biopharmaceutical company Gilead Sciences. This remdesivir is being tested as a specific treatment for COVID-19 and has been issued an emergency use authorization in US for those hospitalized with severe disease. About the mechanism of action of this drug, it is an adenosine nucleotide prodrug that distributes into the cells where it is metabolized to form the pharmacologically active nucleoside triphosphate metabolite. Metabolism of remdesivir is, as triphosphate has been demonstrated in multiple cell types. Remdesivir triphosphate acts as analog of adenosine triphosphate or ATP and competes with natural ATP substrate for incorporation into nascent RNA chains by the SARS-CoV-2 RNA-dependent RNA polymerase, which results in delayed chain termination during replication of the viral RNA. Remdesivir triphosphate is a weak inhibitor of mammalian DNA and RNA polymerase with low potential for mitochondrial toxicity. Remdesivir is an adenosine triphosphate analog first described in literature in 2016 as a potent treatment for Ebola virus. After 1 year, in 2017, it was also active against coronavirus family. This was also demonstrated. This drug acted as a potential treatment for SARS and for COVID-2 or coronavirus responsible for COVID-19. There is something important is the hepatic transaminases elevation. It was observed with remdesivir clinical trials that there is elevation of ALT even in healthy volunteers and also recorded in patients with COVID-19 who took the drug. About healthy volunteers, about 100 milligram daily for 15 days, ALT elevation was observed in the majority of patients, including elevation up to 10 times baseline value in one subject without evidence of clinical hepatitis. Also, grade 3 adverse events were reported. In patients who received patients with COVID-19 who received remdesivir, one of the patients showed elevation 20 times the upper limit normal of ALT. This represents a problem. So transaminase elevation was reported also in other patients who received this treatment. So laboratory testing, especially hepatic laboratory testing, is very important and should be performed prior to starting remdesivir. Also, daily laboratory testing should be done to those patients receiving remdesivir over the period of the treatment. Remdesivir must not be initiated in patients who have ALT equal to or more than 5 times the upper limit normal at baseline. Remdesivir should be discontinued in patients who develop ALT equal or more than 5 times the upper limit of normal during treatment with remdesivir. Remdesivir may be restarted when ALT became less than 5 times the upper limit of normal. So we can make discontinuation and then restart again when the enzymes are corrected. It is observed also that ALT elevation may be not accompanied with signs of inflammation of liver, but once ALT is accompanied with signs or symptoms of liver inflammation or increasing conjugated bilirubin or alkaline phosphatase or INR, it must be stopped. About the adverse reactions with remdesivir, we noticed that there is adverse reactions both in volunteers and in patients who have COVID-19. But volunteers, it was observed that those who took 200 milligram followed by 100 milligram dose for 5 to 10 days, or those who took 150 milligram daily for 7 to 14 days, showed elevation of ALT, but this elevation resolved after discontinuation of the drug. Also, in patients who were suffering from COVID-19 and those who responded to this treatment, there was an experiment done on 397 subjects with laboratory abnormalities equal to or more than 3 times normal. Those patients showed elevation of enzymes after treatment for 10 days. In general, we can speak about the cost of human lives with remdesivir. Whatever the cost, I know that good number of patients resolve after treatment with remdesivir and respire again, so we can imagine that economy also will resolve and the wheel of life will run again. but we must avoid and must correct and must prevent the complication or side effects of this drug. I think we may need to do combination therapy with other drugs to correct liver or kidney affection induced by this drug. It is to be mentioned here in this situation that since 13 years I had a trial with coronavirus treatment with a certain plant extract from Egypt, and I did 3 USA patent office, 3 USA patents from USA Patent Office. I think that this can help in reducing liver enzymes and correcting the problem if we do combination of our treatment with remdesivir. Thank you very much.
Drugs like antiretroviral drugs and remdesivir. How do we choose which drug to start in the patient?
I think it's better to start with remdesivir because this drug is specialized for the virus. It is antiviral. But the second choice will be hydrochloroquine. This one deals with the condition of the patient. It deals with the red blood cells and circulation. So it is not specific, but it gives good results and patients are improving. Third choice is antiretroviral drugs. These still give good results and patients will be recovered. But availability is not always present. Next question.
There is huge price difference between these drugs. Then what are the advantages and disadvantages of each drug?
About remdesivir, this improves patients quickly. Within 6 days and maximum 28 days, the patients will recover from the disease. But its disadvantage is that it is given intravenous. And second thing is that transaminases are elevated, and this is a problem for the liver. So hepatic patients are not suitable for this drug. About the second drug, this hydrochloroquine, if it is available and patient is not a cardiac patient, it will be suitable. It is as advantage, it is very low price, so it is good. Third one is the antiretroviral drugs. This comes at the third position. Its advantage is that patients are recovered fully, but the availability of the drug not always present. Next, please.
Can a person who is not infected should use any medicine as prophylactic measure? Which drugs and what dose can be taken by uninfected healthy controls?
Up till now, there is no prophylaxis, no even contacts of infected person do not take prophylactic drug. Just we are following by doing CBC and detection of corona antibodies. If they are present, we shift to RT-PCR to see the result. About remdesivir, the availability of the drug as a new drug, it is not always sufficient to use it as a prophylactic measure. About hydrochloroquine, some persons use it as a prophylactic due to its lower price, but those must be not cardiac patients. If they are cardiac patients, it is impossible and must be inside the hospital. So no prophylaxis with hydrochloroquine outside the hospital. About antiretroviral drugs, up till now were not used as prophylaxis.